Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Road to Space. We are live here from Paris tonight to cover the first Ariane 5 launch of the year. Good evening, Emma.
Good evening, Baptiste. On board the launcher Measat 3D, a new communication satellite for Measat, Malaysia's leading satellite operator that was built by Airbus Defence and Space.
And Geostationary, a Cuban communication satellite for New Space India Limited and built by the Indian Space Research Organization.
Yes, Baptiste, and in less than 30 minutes, Ariane 5 will be taking off from Kourou with these two innovative and powerful passengers on board.
And together we'll be following this launch step by step. But before, let's have a look at tonight's menu.
Tonight on Road to Space, we'll be live from Europe's spaceport in French Guiana with all the teams. We are here, of course, to witness the launch of the Ariane 5 rocket, which this evening will be sending two revolutionary telecommunication satellites into orbit.
It is not just a new satellite project for Measat, but it's a national important project to close the digital divide in Malaysia.
Meanwhile, here in the Paris studio, we'll be talking to one of Space's top experts about the launch and showing you exclusive video reports on these two very special passengers on board tonight.
With the successful launch of GSAT-24, NSIL would be owning and operating nearly 11 Indian communication satellites in orbit.
We will also be taking a look at the launcher Ariane 6 and all the latest developments and hearing about one of the most unknown and mysterious jobs in the space industry.
Mon moment préféré, c'est le décompte final. Vous savez, quand on a 10, 9, 8, nous, on est là, on attend. Et au décollage, c'est là où on va commencer à parler. Et là, il y a un débit de folie, il y a un coup d'adrénaline.
We'll discover more about Bordeaux Métropole, an important member of the community of Ariane cities, and sponsor of today's flight, VA 257.
Ariane nous fait rêver. L'espace est un rêve.
Nous sommes fiers du soutien et du parrainage de Bordeaux Métropole.
And finally, we'll be answering all your questions from the social networks. Welcome aboard Road to Space.
Ariane 5 launcher is programmed to take off in less than 30 minutes, and to help us understand the finer details of this very special flight tonight, we're thrilled to welcome David Iranzo-Greus. Good evening, David.
Good evening, David.
Good evening.
So, David, you're one of Arianespace's leading space experts, and you'll be our guide tonight, helping us to understand each stage of tonight's flight.
But right now, if you're okay, let's go to Kourou, where Stéphane Israël, Ariane CEO Space, Ariane's CEO, is waiting for us. Stéphane Israël, we have a look. Yeah, hello. How are you doing, Stéphane? Welcome on Road to Space.
Hello, good evening. I'm fine.
Well, so Stéphane, today's mission will be the first Ariane 5's launch of the year, and I understood that you have two very special passengers today.
Indeed, we start tonight the Ariane 5 year with two special guests and very loyal customers to Arianespace. We have on board Measat 3D for Measat, and the journey with Measat has started in 1996. It was the first Measat satellite we launched, and tonight this will be the fourth we will be launching. And we have also a satellite for India and its new space organization, Untitled, a satellite built by ISRO, the Indian Space Agency, GSAT-24, and tonight it will be the 25th satellite we will be launching for India. The journey has started in 1981.
Well, so that's an incredible track record, but what can you tell us about today's flight?
Yes, so we are now in the final operations before the launch. The launch shall happen now in a few minutes. The day has been very smooth. All the parameters so far, but it's not done yet, are green. So let's be a little bit patient. And we will have a launch of almost 40 minutes. We will lift off towards the east. The first passenger to be separated will be Measat after 28 minutes. And just before the end of the mission, it will be the turn of GSAT-24.
Well, thank you very much, Stéphane. Good luck with everything. We'll be back soon with you in Kuru to tell you about tonight's flight.
Baptiste, did you know there are beautiful beaches in Kourou?
Yeah, apparently. This is something you told me about.
Yeah, well, for the first time in Road to Space, we will show you what happens outside the launch pad. David, we've got some images coming up of the beach. You are an expert, you are our expert, and you've been to Guiana. This place is close to the launch pad. You know it well, I imagine. Can you talk to us about it?
Yes, the beach is it's an excellent viewing point for the launches. It's
We're a bit more than 15 kilometers from the Ariane 5 launch pad. And as the launcher flies towards the east, we have an excellent view for a few minutes up to booster separation if the weather is clear, and sometimes even longer. We
will shortly have some images about this amazing fish. It's a view. It's an incredible view sight point to watch the flight.
Yes, definitely. It's a very nice place to watch the launches.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go back on those images a little bit later. For those of you who've just joined us, welcome to Road to Space. In less than 25 minutes, Ariane 5 will launch its 231st and 232nd satellite.
Well done. David, you are head of Advanced Studies Department at Arianespace. To understand the key stages, the key phases of this flight, we have some images that are about to come up on our screen. I wonder if you could comment on them.
Yes, sure. So Ariane 5
we'll have those images in 1 second.
In 1 second,
and you will comment on all the flight, all the trip we will have tonight. Yes, those are the images.
So yes, Ariane 5 will lift off from Kourou in the northeastern coast of South America. At H0, the Vulcan engine of the main stage will ignite, and once we have checked that the engine is working fine, the solid propellant boosters will be ignited and will lift off at 7 seconds afterwards. The launcher will climb and then perform a gravity turn, progressively tilting the trajectory towards the east. After 2 minutes and 20 seconds, the boosters will be separated, having finished their job. Around 1 minute later, the fairing will be jettisoned once the launcher has reached a high enough altitude so that the fairing is no longer needed. And you see on the world map the towers and the little dots. These are the tracking stations that will follow the launcher along its trajectory. At 8 minutes and 40 seconds, the main stage will have finished its job, and the engine will shut down, and we separate from the upper stage. A few seconds later, the upper stage engine will ignite, the HM7V. It will burn for more than 15 minutes, shutting down once the targeted orbit is reached at 25 minutes and 36 seconds. After that, the upper stage will start a series of maneuvers to give Measat 3D the correct orientation, and the satellite will be separated at a bit before 29 minutes. Minutes later, the SILDA, the double launch structure, will separate, and it will open the way for GSAT 24, which will separate approximately 40 minutes after launch. And after that, the launcher will begin its passivation, emptying its propellant tanks to avoid any pressure from building up, and reducing also the lifetime in orbit.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, David, for all this information. We are going to follow this flight quite closely. But let's have a look at the green panel. The panel you see on your screen. So we see everything is green. Everything is green. Can you tell us a little bit about this panel, please?
Yes, this panel gives the status of all the different systems that are needed for the launch. So all the lights need to be green for the launch to happen. If anything happens, one of the lights will turn red, and then we may have to stop the countdown to solve the problem and come back to the launch. So you can see, for example, the status of the launcher, of the satellites, of the launch base, of the telemetry network, and the radars, and of course the weather. The weather is one thing we cannot control.
What's the weather like tonight?
For the time being, everything is green, so we should be able to launch.
Well, as you say, the panel is definitely green for the moment, and that's what we want to see. David, this evening's flight is Ariane's first flight of the year for Arianespace. What other interesting facts can you tell us about this particular launch?
So the launch will be the 257th launch of the Ariane family. It will be the 113th launch of Ariane 5 and the 80th launch in the ECA configuration, which is the configuration with the cryogenic upper stage. And tonight we will be delivering close to 10 tons of satellite mass into geostationary transfer orbit.
Well, so before this launch, let's have a look about those two satellites aboard the rocket. Two communication satellites that will be launched into orbit. In this first short report, we'll be looking at GSAT-24, a powerful and innovative satellite that will be providing high-quality TV, telecommunications, and broadcasting services to India. Let's have a look.
Under the fairing of today's Ariane 5, GSAT-24, a telecommunication satellite weighing 4,180 kilos. This passenger, owned and operated by New Space India Limited, NSIL, was built by Indian Space Research Organisation, ISRO. This Ku-band satellite will provide direct-to-home DTH services in India.
This is a communication satellite having 24 Ku-band transponders, specifically designed to service the sectors which are using DTH services. We have designed this satellite based on the very proven bus of I-3K. It's a bent pipe spacecraft. We hope that with this launch of GSAT-24, this sector, which is primarily meeting the demands of the television broadcasting services in India, will really get a big boost.
Thanks to the satellite, the company will be able to offer more high-definition channels to its customers and increase the robustness of its signal in case of atmospheric rains. It is the first demand-driven satellite launched for the government of India. Once launched into geostationary orbit, the satellite capacity on board GSAT-24 will be utilized by only one client.
NSIL got mandated to undertake satellite missions on a demand-driven model. In fact, the entire satellite capacity has been leased to Indian DTH service provider, Measat Data Play, for the entire life of the satellite, which is 15 years.
Launching this passenger is an important new step for India's space program.
With the successful launch of GSAT-24, NSIL would be owning and operating nearly 11 Indian communication satellites in orbit and meeting the service needs of the users in India on a commercial basis.
A new milestone in the long-time partnership linking Arianespace to India. Their story began in 1981 with the launch of Apple satellite on board the third Ariane 1 ever launched. 41 years later, GSAT-24 is now all set and ready to begin its 15-year journey to space.
So GSAT-24 will be the 25th Indian satellite launched by Arianespace. So David, it's a partnership that began a long time ago, 1981, 40 years ago.
Yes, indeed. We have a long and strong relationship with our Indian customers, and let's say on a less technical note, during all these years, we have been lucky to taste excellent Indian food with our customers in French Guiana. A few years ago, I was happy to act as launcher technical manager for the launch of GSAT-11.
So we'll talk about Indian food. It's amazing food. I like it very much too. But let's talk about the GSAT-24 that will be placed into a geostationary transfer orbit. Can you tell us, David, a little bit more about this position, please?
Yeah, so geostationary orbits are very interesting, in particular for telecommunications, because they have a unique feature, which is that the satellites in this orbit do not move as seen from the ground. So how is this possible? Well, it takes 24 hours for the Earth to do one turn around itself. And when you're in geostationary orbit at 35,786 kilometers above the equator, you will go around the orbit in 24 hours as well. So you will not move as seen from the ground.
And are there any special challenges for tonight's flight? Is it a special one? It's always a special one.
Yes, space is hard and every launch is a challenge in itself. But when we get to this point, it means that a lot of people have worked very hard for many years to build the satellite and the launcher. And everything has been checked and cross-checked to make sure that the 40-minute ride to orbit will be perfect. On Ariane 5, we have a very good track record, as illustrated by the last launch with the Webb telescope in December.
Yeah. So thank you very much, David. Now we know more about the first passenger, but there's another one aboard. Let's focus on this second passenger called Measat 3D and Ima.
Yes, Baptiste, and it was built by Airbus Defence and Space. Measat 3D is a new communication satellite that will complete the fleet of Measat and improve affordability to internet connection in Malaysia. We have a second report coming up right now, and in it we'll give you an exceptional insight into this very effective new satellite. Let's have a look.
Today in Kourou, a very special passenger will be sitting on board the Ariane 5 launcher, Measat 3D. This satellite will be launched into geostationary orbit at 36,000 kilometers above our heads to join the rest of the Measat fleet. The Malaysian operator chose the European company Airbus Defence and Space to build the youngest offspring in its fleet.
The first time Airbus worked with Measat was for Measat 3B, which was launched in September 2014. I'm pleased to say the satellite is doing very well, and Airbus is very happy to be giving birth to a second bird less than 8 years after. We hope that the family will grow again in the next few years.
Using its powerful C and KU band, the payload will be able to deliver direct-to-home television in HD, 4K and even 8K throughout Asia, Australia, Africa and Southern Europe. Thanks to its powerful Ka band, the satellite will also be able to provide internet services to populations so far unserved and underserved to close the digital divide in Malaysia.
It is not just a new satellite project for Measat, but is a national important project to close the digital divide in Malaysia, allowing us to expand the rural connectivity from the existing 3,000 sites to 10,000 sites, and upgrading the internet speed from 30 megabit per second today to 100 megabit per second.
With this new satellite, Measat will be able to bring high-speed connectivity to more people living in remote areas in Malaysia, thus helping millions of people gain access to internet.
Measat is proud to support the Malaysian government Jendela initiative, which is the country national digital infrastructure plan to connect the unconnected, to provide 100% internet coverage to the nation by 2025.
Yet this passenger is full of surprises. Sitting next to it in Ariane 5's fairing, a hosted payload has been integrated by Airbus for the benefits of KTSat, a South Korean operator. This L-band payload will be part of the national system called CAS, providing accurate location information within several meters.
We designed and built a very innovative hosted payload for KTSat for the Korea Augmentation Satellite System, which is called CAS, designed to significantly enhance air traffic management in South Korea. Bon voyage, Measat.
Measat 3D and its 5,734 kilograms of advanced technologies has been designed to fulfill its mission for more than 18 years.
Well, Measat 3D will be the first satellite to separate from the Ariane 5 rocket tonight. This is a very important moment as it will happen at exactly, are you ready for it? 28 minutes and 30 seconds after liftoff. David, this timing seems to be extremely precise.
Yes, it is. During the preparation of the mission, our teams perform very precise simulations, taking into account all the data from the launcher and the satellites, to be able to predict the exact moment when the targeted orbit will be reached, and then the time that it will take to turn Measat 3D in the targeted orientation in space before separation. So this is where the 2836 comes from.
The separation of GSAT-24, which is the second satellite, will occur 40 minutes after liftoff. With Measat and ISRO, respectively, from Malaysia and India, this flight is an important milestone for the partnership between the Pacific region and Arianespace. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, indeed, Arianespace has a long-standing relationship with India and with many other countries in the Asia-Pacific region. In fact, Arianespace has had for many years offices in Tokyo, in Japan, and in Singapore to be close to the many customers we have in this region.
Thank you very much, David, for this information. We are more or less 10 minutes away from the launch, and let's have a quick look at the green panel. You have the control panel just in front of you. Can you tell us?
Yes, for the time being, everything is green.
But have you ever witnessed a red light?
Yes, indeed. Some things can happen, and of course, since we control a lot of things, sometimes we get red lights, and we need to do additional checks.
Can storm, for example, storms, can it turn green into red lights?
Yes, indeed. I mean, on the weather green light, it can turn red if at the time of the launch there are thunderstorms that are too close to the launch pad, or if we have very high winds, things like that.
Okay, David, I have an information. So yes, we are commenting a green panel. So even if everything is green, the information I just got is we are going to delay the launch of the rocket just 15 minutes. So what I suggest is we can have a look at the sum up, what we will be explaining, what we will be watching tonight, and we'll be coming back shortly to comment this launch that is just postponed, just 15 minutes. It happens. Let's have a look at tonight's menu, and we'll come back very soon.
Tonight on Road to Space, we are live from Europe's spaceport in French Guiana.
Okay. Couper le chic. On reprendra. Oh.
À tous de DDO, suite à un rouge ensemble de lancement, le temps décompte sera arrêté à moins 7 minutes. À tous de DDO, arrêt du décompte suite à un rouge ensemble de lancement. Que tous les moyens restent prêts pour la reprise de la chronologie à I0 moins 7 minutes en cas de retour au vert. à tous de DDO suite au retour au vert des moyens lanceurs. Le nouvel I0 visé est 21h50 00 TU. Le temps décompte démarrera à 21h43 00 TU.
Hello, welcome back on Road to Space. We just interrupted the launch and the program. Just at the time, David, we were talking about this green panel and we were talking about those green lights. And just as this time, one turned into red. What happened?
Yes, that's right. So during the checks that were done at the end of the filling of the tanks, there were some measures that were seen that were a bit out of the usual measures that we see in this case. And therefore, of course, we take no risk. So we stopped the countdown and we analyzed these measures to make sure that there was nothing that could stop the launch. And therefore, now the teams have finished the analysis. Everything has come back to normal, so we can launch again the.
And as you told us before, space is hard and those things happen. For those who are joining us now on Road to Space, stay tuned. In just a couple of minutes, we'll be connecting to Kourou in the French Guiana to follow the launch step by step. But now let's have a look at the menu tonight.
Tonight on Road to Space, we are live from Europe's spaceport in French Guiana with our teams. In just a few minutes, we will witness the launch of 2 revolutionary telecommunication satellites aboard the Ariane 5 rocket. Meanwhile, here in the studio, we'll be chatting to one of space's top experts. After the launch, we will give you an update on the latest developments of the new rocket Ariane 6 and learn more about the community of Ariane cities.
Nous sommes fiers du soutien et du parrainage de Bordeaux Métropole.
We will unveil the secrets of one of the space industry's most unknown jobs. And finally, we'll be answering all your questions on social media. So don't go away. Stay with us and enjoy the ride.
So David, we're only a few minutes from liftoff. So what is happening right now to the 2 passengers at this time?
Finale lanceur. Le nouvel I0 est 21h50, 00 temps universel.
Yes, so we just...
Yes, so that's the DDO we've just been hearing.
Right, we just heard the DDO announce the start of a synchronized sequence.
Yeah.
And the new liftoff time, which will be in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So yes, in this last minutes, we will have the final pressurization of the tanks, of the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen tanks. We will start in a few seconds, a few minutes, the opening of the valves that would feed the main engine with propellants. And shortly before liftoff, we will have a handover from the ground equipment to the launcher, who will control the power and all the last steps before liftoff.
At this time, is it still possible that Ariane 5 doesn't lift off?
Yes, again, in these last minutes, there's a lot of tests that are going on. And so, of course, we have done some controls before to make sure that everything goes as expected, but there are some tests, so these tests could always stop the launch.
Okay, so it's a stressful time since teams have been working for weeks and months, and so we have some images of that campaign that we'll be watching, and if you're okay, David, you will comment all those images for us.
Of course, yes. So here we have the arrival of our first passenger, Measat 3D, who arrived in Kourou by boat. The container was transferred to the spacecraft preparation facilities in the Space Center, where it was unloaded in the clean room facilities. After that, the inspection and testing of the spacecraft, the satellite was mated on the flight adapter, and then it was fueled. And the second spacecraft you see here coming out of an Indian C-17 airplane. It was also transferred to the spacecraft preparation facilities for testing, and then mating here on the launcher adapter. After that, the spacecraft was fueled as well. And after that, it was transferred to the final assembly building, where the Ariane 5 launcher was being prepared in parallel. Here you see GSAT-24 being put on top of Ariane 5. After that, the fairing that you see here was mated with the double launch structure and put on top of Measat 3D, which is the upper passenger, and the whole stack was then assembled on top of the launcher. The logos of our customers that were put on the fairing, this is one important point, of course. And finally, when everything is ready, the launcher and the spacecraft, yes, just today, the launcher was brought out of the final assembly building and was transferred to the launch pad, where the operations started yesterday to prepare the launch.
Well, thank you very much, David. We should ask to have a Road to Space sticker on the next rocket. That's just something I would like very much. It looks like everyone has done an incredible job to make this all happen. If you look up on your screen now, you will have some live images from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou, and inside you have the Ariane 5 launcher. Inside the Ariane 5 launcher, you have two very special telecommunication satellites, Measat 3D and GSAT 24, who are both waiting patiently for the green light to lift off. We are now exactly 2 minutes and 50 seconds from the liftoff. What are the next steps before the launch?
Yes, so right now, as I mentioned before, the final tests are being done. All the valves are starting to be open and to be checked. And yes, in a few minutes, the control of the operations will be handed over to the launcher.
And so we will have we're watching the countdown 2 minutes away from the launch. Just a question, we are focusing now on the liftoff, but after that, the flight is as important as the liftoff.
Yes, of course, the flight is the important part. The difference is that up to the liftoff, we can stop things if we see something if we see an issue. After liftoff, it's the onboard computer who will manage the entire flight and up to the end, up to the separation of the satellites.
And have you ever been inside the control room during a launch?
Yes, I have been in the Jupiter room, but I have mostly been in the CDL3 room, which is the bunker located close to the launch pad. In this control room, we have the operation, quality, and engineering teams that are following the last operations. And by the way, I take the opportunity to say hi to them, even if I know that at this time they are fully focused on what they're doing.
Well, I don't know if we have the possibility to watch at the Jupiter room, because we see all the people in the Jupiter room moving to the windows. Well, those are the people.
Attention pour moins une minute.
So we just had an image of people watching.
Yes.
Because people are attending over there.
À 0 moins une minute.
Yes.
1 minute from the liftoff.
That's right.
DDO has just announced the countdown. Let's immediately go to the green panel on our screen. Make sure all is good, David.
Yes, for the time being, everything continues to be green, so we're still go for launch.
And now we are 42 seconds from the ignition. So this is the moment we've been all waiting for. Let's watch, let's cross fingers, and let's enjoy the show, because it's always incredible.
Yes.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage 2 EAP, décollage. Propulsion nominale, tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux. Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
Well, we have just seen Ariane 5 disappear into space. Do stay with us, everyone, because what's going to happen next is as crucial as the launch.
Trajectoire nominale.
This is, of course, the moment when the two satellites, GSAT 24 and Measat 3D, are placed into orbit. David, you're our space expert tonight. Ariane 5 still has a long way to travel before the separation of the two satellites. Where and when will this happen, and how many kilometers away from the launch site?
Yes, we're not quite there yet, yes. Measat 3D will separate from the launcher in about 30 minutes, 1,200 kilometers ahead of Kenya. And GSAT 24 will separate about 10 minutes later above the Pacific Ocean, about 38,800 kilometers.
I imagine that everything is minutely calculated and programmed so that the satellites find their position themselves. So what can you tell me, David, is the role of the team in Kourou at this stage?
Yes, indeed. As I said, everything is controlled by the onboard computer on the launcher. So the team in Kourou, this is what we are hearing right now. They are receiving data from the launcher through the tracking stations, and they are checking that everything is going according to what was foreseen.
Well, I'm just focusing on those images, incredible images.
Incredible.
I'm just watching. So it was really impressive. And it's a really nice night.
Yes, yes, it's
so
clear
dreamy.
skies.
Just before the satellites find their fun. I'm interrupted because we have video. Everything is okay.
Yes.
Before the satellites find their position in orbit, 36,000 kilometers above our head, David, what should we be focusing on?
So right now, yes, we just had the separation of the boosters.
Yeah, we can see it.
Which
It's
have finished their
incredible.
jobs. Yes,
Yeah.
we have very good images tonight. We have.
That's the first time we see it so clearly.
The
That's
first time,
incredible.
it really is.
So the launcher is at an altitude of about 70 kilometers and traveling about 7,000 kilometers per hour right now.
We will also, we've just heard the DDO has announced the fairing separation.
Yes, so...
Why? We don't need it anymore.
No, the launcher has now reached an altitude around 110 kilometers where the atmosphere is really thin, and therefore we get rid of the fairing, which was there to protect the satellites from the atmosphere and from the liftoff.
So it's not already done. I'm confused. It's not already done. It will happen.
It should happen shortly, yes.
Should happen shortly. And you have
an earpiece.
An earpiece, and
yes.
so you're directly connected to Kourou. So you have.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Well, for all of you who've just joined us on Road to Space, the Ariane 5 rocket has just left the Guiana Space Center in Kourou 3 minutes ago. And tonight we have two very special passengers on board, one from Measat, Malaysia's first satellite operator, and the second one from New Space India Limited, which is a public enterprise under the Indian Ministry of Space.
And in 20 minutes, Measat 3D will be the first released into space. David, can you tell us a bit more about its future position?
La propulsion est nominale.
Yes. So Measat 3D will be in geostationary position, 36,000 kilometers above the Earth. The satellite will be fixed with respect to the ground, as I explained before. And so it will be in what we call the 91.5 degree east orbital slot, which if you look at a world map, you will see that 91.5 degree longitude east is over the Indian Ocean, about 1,000 kilometers from Kuala Lumpur. So it will be in a perfect position to serve Malaysia and Southeast Asia.
Okay, Measat 3D is part of the Measat family. We had Measat 1, 2, and 3A. Launched all by Arianespace in 1996 and 2014. It's a long-time partnership between the client and Arianespace.
Yes, indeed. Arianespace has had a very strong relationship with the Asia-Pacific region for years, for decades. And Measat and Malaysia are indeed very important customers to us, yes.
Measat 3D and GSAT-24 are still continuing their journey into space on board Ariane 5. Let's now have a look at the screen and some incredible images we have of today's liftoff from the Guiana Space Center, which happened just a couple of minutes ago. I'm going to ask you, David, probably to comment on them.
Yeah. So we can see on the screen what we have, because we don't have this replay right now, but we have on the right. So this is the 3D images.
Yeah, so this is the situation of the launcher right now with the main stage that is functioning right now, and that will continue to function for a few minutes, yes.
And for the people that are watching us, all the information they see on the low part of the screen. What is this?
So yes, you have there the altitude of the launcher at this time. So you see it's about 160 kilometers. The distance from the launch pad, which is about 700 kilometers, and the speed, which right now is getting close to 5 kilometers per second, yes.
Well, we'll see the replay later on in the program, but Ariane 5 will have a long flight tonight, as I said before. Together, we will follow all the different stages together until the separation of both satellites and the acquisition of Measat 3D in approximately 45 minutes. Earlier, we mentioned this flight was the first of the year for Ariane 5. So, David, how many flights does Ariane 5 approximately make per year?
Well, in past years, Ariane 5 has flown on average 6 times per year. Of course, with the recent COVID crisis, the launch rate has decreased, and we had 3 launches in 2020 and 3 more in 2021. Thanks, by the way, to the big effort of all the teams in this difficult situation.
Of course, Ariane 5 is not the only rocket to take off from the Guiana Space Center every year. How many rockets take off from Kourou annually?
Well, in recent years, again, with COVID, we have had about 7 launches per year. But before that, we had as many as 11 or 12 launches per year.
Wow, okay. Well, when it comes to large spaceports, there are often different advantages relating to both the site and the location. But what about Kourou? Why is it one of the most efficient and effective launch sites in the world?
Well, with its location, which is very close to the equator, Kourou offers the launchers an extra push when going to space, when going towards the east, thanks to the rotation of the Earth. So this is a great advantage when going into geostationary orbit, like it is the case today. This push, together with the low inclination orbits that can be reached, is a great advantage for the customers because they will use less fuel to go into orbit. And also the geography makes it possible to launch towards the north, towards the east. So all kinds of orbits are possible to be reached from Kourou.
Okay, and David, while you were explaining us, we hear the DDO announcing Natal acquisition. Just a word about that, please.
Yeah, so Natal, as you see on the screen, is a tracking station that is located in the east of Brazil. And so this is the tracking station that is now receiving the information from the launcher. Again, as we move east, different tracking stations will follow the launcher along the way.
And so at the time we are talking, the rocket in the sky does not look anything like the one we saw leaving Kourou 8 minutes ago. It has now separated from the main core stage. Can you explain us what it means?
Yes, so the DDO just announced, yes, the fact that the main stage has been separated. And he just announced that the upper stage engine has been ignited.
Brilliant.
So yeah, as we go along, of course, and the stages are used up, the propellant is used up, the stages are separated. Right now, the launcher configuration that you see on the screen is about 30 tons, to be compared to the 775 tons that we had at the time of liftoff.
Quite incredible.
So the higher you go, the lighter you get. We just hear the loss of Galliot signal, if I'm right. I'm just looking. We lost Galliot signal. What does it mean? Does it mean the rocket is out of sight, out of here, out of connection?
With Kourou, yes, that's right. Galliot is the tracking station in Kourou. And of course, as we move towards the east, at some point, we are no longer visible from Kourou. But again, this is not an issue because we have other tracking stations along the way that will continue to follow the launcher.
Okay, we'll comment all those different stages. But if you want now, we have a replay of the launch. So if you're okay, we're going to watch again those images. It's always incredible. And tonight, I precise, it's really an amazing night.
It was
It's an incredible. So let's watch these images. We will probably have them.
Here we go.
Well, yeah, here it comes.
Yeah, so here there's the main engine ignition just before the boosters are ignited and then the launcher lifts off. It's indeed a very impressive sight. A lot of power, more than 1,500 tons of thrust. And in a few seconds, the launcher reaches the speed of sound. So yes, it's always a very powerful sight.
Okay, so in roughly 15 minutes, our first satellite, Measat 3D, will separate from Ariane 5. But as you know, the rocket still has a very long way to go before it gets to this point. So David, I have a question for you. How fast is the rocket presently traveling? It looks like it's going very fast. At what altitude as well?
Yeah, so right now we are, the launcher and the satellites are traveling at a bit more than 7 kilometers per second, and they are at about 150 kilometers. And yes, they will continue to accelerate for some minutes to reach the right velocity before separation.
Well, as Baptiste said, we lost the Galileo signal and we're about to lose Natal. Let's see, what time is it here?
Yes, we will be losing Natal shortly.
And connecting
a
few minutes after connecting to Ascension.
After with Ascension, yeah. We may have a short period of a few seconds where there will be no connection with a station, but this is not an issue because all the data will be recorded on the launcher and then downloaded as soon as we get to Ascension.
And let's focus 1 second more on those images that are incredible. And if I remember well, we will see shortly the separation of the booster. We had those images live. It was incredible. We saw the EAP separating.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
It was a first. It really was.
Yeah. That's incredible.
We can see them sometimes, but it's true that tonight it was particularly clear.
Okay. We just heard trou télémesure attendu, which means
we are expecting to
réacquisition de la télémesure.
Oh, there we go.
La station d'Ascension.
So
so those little seconds.
There were few seconds.
Few seconds.
It was really very short. Yes.
David, I'd just like to bring up something that caught my eye, which we haven't talked about for the moment. The logo of the city of Bordeaux, which appears on the rocket's fairing. What can you tell us about this?
Yes, indeed. Bordeaux is part of a community of Ariane cities, which is an organization gathering all the cities around Europe where the Ariane launchers are manufactured and built. And this is the reason they are taking a ride on the launcher tonight. Indeed, Ariane Group and many other companies in the Bordeaux area are building some of the major elements of Ariane 5.
So the aerospace sector is most certainly one of the areas of excellence of the French city of Bordeaux and its metropole. Let's now have a look at behind the scene.
Yeah, my favorite.
It's a short report from our journalist Mélanie Prévost, and then David will continue to talk with you.
Propulsion nominale.
Did you know that the city of Bordeaux is known worldwide not only for its relaxed lifestyle, its gastronomy, and its great wines, but also for the historical role it's played in the aeronautics and space industry? 7 of the largest groups in the sector have been based here for years, among them Ariane Group. In Bordeaux Métropole, Ariane Group is present on 3 sites, in Le Haillon, Saint-Médard-Issac, et Saint-Médard-Centre.
Ariane nous fait rêver. L'espace est un rêve. Mais l'espace, ce n'est pas qu'un rêve, c'est aussi une industrie. Et évidemment, Ariane Group y trouve toute sa place. 3000 salariés quand même, ici, dans un ensemble de l'aéroparc de presque 50 000. Donc c'est une industrie très puissante, une des plus puissantes du pays.
It is also the leading employer in the aeronautics and aerospace sector in the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region.
L'ancrage territorial d'Ariane Group est un atout. Notre société accorde une attention particulière au développement de sa chaîne de sous-traitance et d'approvisionnement en Nouvelle-Aquitaine. Nous travaillons avec 300 partenaires et startups dans la région, ce qui représente un chiffre d'affaires de l'ordre de 62 millions d'euros.
One of the assets of Bordeaux Métropole is its Operation Bordeaux Aeroparc Metropolitan, which enables the development of the strategic area and makes it more attractive. An area of 3,400 hectares where some 300 companies in the sector are located, creating more than 20,000 jobs, which translates into 42% of the jobs in the aeroparc. Thanks to technological innovations, Bordeaux Métropole hopes to fulfill its mission in decarbonizing its territory.
Ariane Group, c'est aussi une promesse. C'est une promesse d'une activité industrielle qui sera décarbonée. Je sais qu'Ariane Group travaille beaucoup sur de nouvelles motorisations, y compris sur l'hydrogène. D'ores et déjà, c'est déjà une réalité. Et tout ça, finalement, ça fait partie de la vitrine aussi de Bordeaux Métropole.
Here, the aeronautics and space sector has been a field of excellence for years. This is why Bordeaux Métropole is committed to its involvement in the Community of Ariane Cities, or CVA. This association brings together the major European cities that play a role in the manufacture of the Ariane launcher. Among them, Bordeaux Métropole has been chosen to take the presidency of the CVA in 2020 and also 2021.
En tant qu'industriel majeur de la filière aérospatiale dans la région, nous sommes fiers du soutien et du parrainage de Bordeaux Métropole au sein de la communauté des villes Ariane en 2020 et en 2021. Nous allons désormais continuer à soutenir le développement économique dans la métropole bordelaise pour attirer à l'avenir le maximum de talents, femmes et hommes, dans ce secteur passionnant.
And Bordeaux Métropole is already at the heart of the manufacturing process for the new generation of Ariane 6 and Vega C launchers. In Le Haillan, Ariane Group employees are working with the help of some of the most powerful robots in the world. This is where the nozzles for the P120C solid rocket motors that will equip the new Ariane launcher are manufactured. These solid rocket boosters, essential sub-assemblies of which are integrated not far from there, in Saint-Médard, must give the launcher the power it needs to break free from the Earth's gravity. Today, Bordeaux Métropole and Ariane Group are continuing to strengthen their partnership for the development of the region and are already preparing the space of tomorrow together.
So on October 11th, Bordeaux Métropole will hold its second Aeronautics Summit, an event gathering leaders of the sector, politicals, researchers, entrepreneurs, and investors. They will meet to affirm their progress in terms of ecological transition. So David, what about space? How do we protect environment in space?
Yes, it's clear that in particular with the arrival of very large constellations in low Earth orbit, everyone has to play the game and they have to follow, everybody has to follow international regulations and make sure that all elements are deorbited at the end of their lifetime.
And so Arianespace has already demonstrated a responsible attitude towards space debris. Concretely, what are they doing?
Yeah, so Arianespace became one of the first companies to sign the Net Zero Space Charter, which is designed to reduce the debris in orbit by 2030 and to foster more sustainable use of space. On our launchers, we have demonstrated this responsible attitude with the upper stages for Vega, for Soyuz, and soon for Ariane 6. The upper stages are deorbited when launching to low Earth orbits. On Ariane 5, the upper stage performs maneuvers at the end of its mission to reduce the perigee and the apogee, and this helps to reduce the time it remains in orbit.
Okay, we will talk a little bit later in Road to Space about Ariane 6. Just before, just the word, how the new launcher is more sustainable.
Yeah, so the upper stage of Ariane 6 has a reignition capability that will allow it to clear the operational orbits. So most of the time by deorbiting it, or by transferring it to a safe graveyard orbit.
Okay. The European Space Agency recently named a startup, ClearSpace, in charge of the world's very first mission to demonstrate how to remove large space debris starting in the 2025. Do you think that they will pave the way to a new market involving the deorbiting of space debris?
Yes, it's clear that the sustainability of space, it will require, on the one hand, for all the actors to play the game and to follow the rules and to follow regulations to avoid adding additional debris. And on the other hand, it will require missions like the one that ClearSpace will perform to go and catch debris in orbit, which represent a risk. So Arianespace, of course, is ready to provide the launch services for these kind of missions to go and get some debris in orbit.
Okay, so Ariane 5 is now on its way. It still has a long way to go before Measat 3D and GSAT 24 separate from the launcher. In the meantime, let's have a look at some questions we receive on the social network. David, we have a question for you tonight. This one comes from, it appears just behind us. Laetitia, how long did it take to build Ariane 5?
Yeah, so building Ariane 5, it starts way back, roughly 3 years before the launch, when the first pieces of metal, the first screws are built, and progressively more and more complex systems are assembled. leading to the manufacturing and the assembly of the stages that are then shipped to French Guiana. And finally, it takes about 6 weeks in Kourou to do the final assembly and to integrate the satellites for the launch.
So once all those different elements of the rocket have been built over Europe, how are they transported to Kourou?
Well,
by boat, I guess.
Yes. In the end, by boat. All the elements are transported first by road or by river boat to several main harbors around Europe, in France, in the Netherlands, in Italy. And from there, Arianespace has 2 boats that go across the Atlantic and that transfer all the stages for the launches.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Well, we are now less than 6 minutes away from the separation of the first satellites. And of course, we'll be going live to the Jupiter room in Kourou. Just before, let's find out about the latest development on Ariane 6. We will have some images, and same job for you. Can you comment, please, all those images?
Yeah, so these images are from January this year. So we have in this boat the 2 first Ariane 6 liquid propellant stages that arrived at the European spaceport. This arrival meant it was the beginning of what we call the combined test. So for the first time, Ariane 6 launcher components will meet the launch pad in order to test both of them together in real-life conditions, including firing of the main engine of the launcher. So after a short road trip, the containers arrived in this building, the Ariane 6 brand new launcher assembly building. This building is completely different from the one that's used for Ariane 5 today, because Ariane 5 is assembled vertically while Ariane 6 is assembled horizontally. Right now, the launcher that will be used for this combined test is being assembled in this building. And a few hundred meters away, you can see the launch pad with its huge mobile gantry. Here, tests have been performed as well using a launcher mock-up, you see in the images. And all the propellant system has been tested, including the large cryogenic arms that you see here. They will open a few moments before liftoff of Ariane 6. And we have similar, this is for the upper stage, and on the lower stage there's similar systems that you see here that are protected by these metal boxes.
Well, if you've been following us, you'll know that Ariane 5 lifted off 23 minutes ago from the European Space Centre in Kourou. So we're now very close to the first separation. In less than 5 minutes, Measat 3D will be put into geostationary transfer orbit to reach an altitude of 36,000 kilometers.
Thank you. And now let's concentrate on what is happening next. David, I'm sure you have some additional information to give us.
Yes, so in a few seconds, we're very close to the end of the upper stage. The upper stage engine should shut down shortly, meaning that the targeted orbit has been reached. And so after that, there will be a series of maneuvers that will begin to prepare for the release of the upper passenger.
Well, I don't know what they're saying in your earpiece, but we were about to lose Libreville. Yes, we lost Libreville.
Yes, as you see on the world map, we are, let's say, somewhere halfway across Africa, and therefore we have lost connection with the first station, which was in Libreville in Gabon. Yes.
And before the next stage of tonight's flight, which is the separation of Measat 3D, we now have an exclusive interview with Daniel Neuschwinder, the Director of Space Transportation. Let's take a look.
So Ariane 6, we are having a heavy summer ahead of us with a lot of challenges. 2 main milestones will certainly be, on the one side, the hot firing test of the new upper stage on the new test bench in Lampolzhausen, Germany. And the second key milestone will be the combined test starting here in Kourou. On ELA 4, we will have the full launcher on the pad, and we are all eager to look to that. Through the summer, we will consolidate a number of additional milestones which will bring us to end September, and end September we will, of course, be in a position to have more confidence and consolidate our planning towards a maiden flight and ramp up of Ariane 6. Regarding the ESA Ministerial Council at the end of the year, we have two top priorities from the STS side. On the one side, Ariane 6 and Vega C market introduction, which will need also enhanced performances. For that, we will go with a proposal to our member states to increase the performance of the P120C Plus and combined for Ariane 6 with an increase of the thrust level of Vinci, and of course, all the accompanying programs to Ariane 6 and Vega C. The other top priorities is really the preparation of the future. We need an ambitious preparation of the future. We have to take challenges. For these challenges, we want to ensure growth and competitiveness, and for that, we are having the preparation of the future with FLPP, and on the other side, the commercial space transportation services with the Boost program. And as we speak, the teams are working hard towards the preparation of the Vega C first flight, and this is now our next step, so we stay focused.
Well, so now it's time to go back and to stick to live, because we are a few minutes away from Measat 3D separation from Ariane 5. David, what news do you have from Kourou about this first separation that is about to happen?
Yes, it should happen in a few seconds. The launcher has now finished the maneuvers to give Measat 3D the correct orientation. And yes, in a few seconds, we should have the confirmation of the separation.
Which is a really important step.
It is indeed a very important step, yes.
Well, let me remind you all that Measat is the premium supplier of communication and video services to leading broadcasters, direct-to-home platforms, and telecom operators in Malaysia.
Measat 3D.
There we go. We have now the confirmation.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so you were telling the separation
of Measat 3D is one of the most important stages of tonight's flight, isn't it, guys? Another one is when the satellite links up to the operator, and Measat will be looking forward to this momentous moment. Oh, they are clapping.
Yeah.
Where they can finally celebrate the end of the mission. David, for the moment, all the teams in Kourou seem to, there's thumbs up, they seem to be very happy.
Yes, but indeed it's a very good moment for Measat, but the mission is not over yet.
And this is why we see in the Jupiter room, if you have people clapping, but most of the people, most of the others are not.
All. They're very serious.
Staying focused.
Yes, so the launcher now will do a few maneuvers to release the SILDA, the level launch structure, and then after that it will do some additional maneuvers to release the second passenger today, GSAT-24.
Well, the DDO has confirmed the separation of the SILDA. We are now 10 minutes away from the second separation, GSAT-24. No.
Séparation SILDA, système de lancement double, Ariane.
I have information you don't have.
I'm he has his only little earpiece.
I was confused. I was confusing. So now we have this confirmation.
Yes.
So, which means we are 10 minutes away from the second separation, GSAT-24, a first demon-driven communication satellite mission undertaken by the New Space India Limited. So all teams, as we said, in Kourou remain focused. Among them, we have the CVI. Who are they? What role do they play in the mission? Let's watch. I'm not asking you the question. Let's watch this report.
Je m'appelle Justine, j'ai 26 ans et ça fait 3 ans que je travaille chez Arianespace maintenant. Et je suis ingénieure en analyse de mission et responsable CVI. Donc CVI, c'est un peu vague, ça veut dire contrôle visuel immédiat.
Je m'appelle Massimiliano, je suis le chef du service sauvegarde-vol au CNES, au Centre spatial guyanais.
Le cœur du métier, c'est pendant le lancement où on doit décrire le plus précisément possible le comportement du lanceur pour informer nos collègues et les clients. Et l'élément le plus important, c'est d'annoncer la séparation du satellite, parce que forcément c'est un moment essentiel, tout le monde applaudit, et ensuite tout de suite après, dès que possible, de fournir donc l'orbite d'injection au client qui est l'élément clé pour le satellite. Donc, comme on surveille le lanceur, on va être en Guyane, au plus proche des moyens de télémesure, donc du suivi du lanceur.
Sur Garvol, nous on s'occupe du lanceur dès le décollage pour s'assurer qu'il ne devient jamais dangereux pour les populations et pour les biens. Donc on surveille la trajectoire du lanceur et si besoin, on peut être amené à détruire les lanceurs avant qu'ils puissent être en danger pour les personnes.
Côté CNES, donc Massimiliano, ils doivent protéger les populations. Donc c'est un monde totalement différent, mais finalement, comme le nôtre, ils doivent surveiller le lanceur en temps réel. Mon moment préféré, c'est le décompte final. Vous savez, quand on a 10, 9, 8, nous, on est là, on attend. Et au décollage, c'est là où on va commencer à parler. Et là, il y a un débit de folie, il y a un coup d'adrénaline.
Moi, j'ai fait des études en tant qu'ingénieur aérospatial. Il n'y a pas d'école pour devenir un responsable sauvegarde vol ou pour faire de la sauvegarde. Pour être un CVI, il faut entre 3 et 6 mois de formation. Et c'est une formation qui comprend une partie théorique et aussi une partie pratique avec des rejeux de vol qui ont été un peu modifiés pour faire apparaître des anomalies pour que la CVI puisse s'entraîner. On a une grosse responsabilité. Donc, il faut des personnes qui sachent gérer le stress. Il faut être très rigoureux. C'est quelque chose qui est très motivant. Je pense que ça donne un sens de responsabilité, d'importance à ce qu'on fait.
Non mais on est vraiment obligé d'en parler. Une ou deux fois, ça m'est arrivé d'oublier de couper le micro pendant la phase de préparation où on racontait des blagues pour détendre l'atmosphère. C'était assez gênant. D'un seul coup, tous les téléphones de la salle se sont mis à sonner et tout le monde m'a appelé pour me dire « Justine, ton micro, il est ouvert !» Nous, on arrive 1h30, 2 heures avant le lancement pour être en place. Donc oui, toute cette phase d'attente, en fait, le stress, il va augmenter au fur et à mesure jusqu'au décompte final. Donc c'est important de trouver des moyens de décompresser. Donc on discute, on fait connaissance avec les équipes qu'on ne voit pas souvent et on raconte des blagues.
Les lancements de James Webb, le télescope James Webb, qui a marqué le spatial mondial et en particulier les centres spatiaux guyanais et l'équipe sauvegarde vol parce qu'on a participé à ces lancements historiques. L'espace, c'est quand même quelque chose qui me passionne depuis la petite enfance. Donc, j'ai eu la chance de voir un lancement quelques semaines, 15 jours après mon arrivée en Guyane.
Il faut croire en vous et il faut essayer. Il n'y a pas assez de femmes dans les domaines scientifiques, il n'y a pas assez de femmes dans le spatial. Et voilà, je pense qu'il ne faut pas se donner de barrières et il faut penser à ce qu'on veut faire et pas à ce qu'on ne peut pas faire. Et voilà, le seul moyen de savoir, c'est d'essayer.
And so, David, I guess we could say hello to Justine. She's talking to you, and we saw her in the report.
That's right.
David, I'm glad to see that there are women like Justine working in important positions within the space industry. It looks like we need some more, but let's get back to our mission in hand. Can you confirm now the injection orbit of the first satellite, David?
Yes, at this point, the CVI team has the information from the launcher on the exact injection orbit. And this information will be provided to our customer to facilitate the first connection that the satellite will establish with its ground stations.
Well, thank you, David. So we're waiting for this moment with Measat to celebrate the success of the mission. Meanwhile, we have a couple of questions from you on the social network related to tonight's flight. And we have this one from Elon Muscles. It's a different one. The question is, blah, blah, blah. So I give you a sum up. When can we consider the mission of an Ariane 5 rocket to be over?
Yes, for our customers, Ariane 5 mission is over once the satellites have been released from the launcher in the targeted orbit. So this is what just happened for Measat. However, for us at Arianespace, the mission continues a bit after releasing the satellites. We use the remaining propellants on the tanks to reduce the altitude of the orbit as much as possible. And then we depressurize the tanks to make sure there is no problem. And we basically turn down all the power and all the systems on the launcher. Basically, we shut everything down in a safe way.
I have a question for you, David. You spoke earlier about both satellites being launched into a geostationary transfer orbit. We talk a lot about geostationary position, which we all know is, 36,000 kilometers above our heads. But what is the difference between the two?
Yeah, so yes, indeed, the launcher is putting the satellites into what we call a GTO, a geostationary transfer orbit. This orbit is an ellipse with a low point at 250 kilometers above the Earth and a high point at 36,000 kilometers above the Earth, so the geostationary altitude. And so when the satellite reaches this high point of the ellipse, it will use its own engines to accelerate and to avoid falling back to 250 kilometers. And so this acceleration will be sufficient to stay at 36,000 kilometers all the time. So it will, at that point, be in geostationary orbit.
Okay, David, you explained us before the first satellite is released above Kenya, more or less, and the second one above the Indian Ocean. So what's the launcher speed at this time?
At the time of the release of the satellite, the first one, Measat 3D, it was about 9 kilometers per second. And as we climb up, the velocity decreases and the separation of GSAT will take place with a velocity around 7.3 kilometers per second.
I have something, because we've been talking before Road to Space tonight, and you explained me, we can compare this, me throwing a ball.
Yes, that's right. You can compare it to your hand could be the rocket.
The rocket, yeah.
And so when you release the ball, this is what happens when you release the satellites. Your hand stops pushing the ball, the rocket stops pushing the satellites, but the satellites continue moving up, and this is how they will move up to these 36,000 kilometers, which is the apogee of the orbit.
Okay.
A great comparison. Thank you, David. Well, we are now less than 2 minutes away from the separation of GSAT-24, the Indian satellite manufactured by ISRO. So if we look up at the screen, what information is it giving us, David? Flight info, speed, altitude, height. Can you say that everything is normal?
Yes, right now everything is normal. The launcher is doing its last maneuvers to put GSAT-24 in the right orientation for the release. So we are now about 3,500 kilometers above the Indian Ocean, just not very far from India, and with a speed of, close to 7.3 kilometers per second.
So does this separation signal the end of the mission? That's what we want to know.
Well, this separation will be the last operation performed by the launcher, but as I said before, after that we will wait for the confirmation of the acquisition of a signal from the customer.
And at what time will this happen?
Well, this should happen about 10 to 12 minutes after the separation of GSAT-24.
So all the teams they are waiting patiently in Kourou. They must be on tender hooks. This is a huge moment for them.
Yeah, we're seconds away from the second separation.
Just waiting for Raymond Boyce, the DDO.
We have the confirmation that, yes, as you see in the images, the launcher has finished the maneuvers, and therefore the separation will happen shortly.
So you have the confirmation yet? Because I'm waiting now until the DDO.
There we go.
Oh, brilliant.
Well, so this is the DDO, and he has just confirmed the separation of GSAT-24. This is a great news, and this is why we can see all those people clapping and
applauding the success of the mission.
Yeah, that's an incredible time. So that's why is this confirmation really important, and why are we waiting for a signal acquisition?
Yeah, so the satellites, after separation, they need some time to switch on their systems, to start deploying their solar panels. And once they do that, they will, let's say, call home. So they will establish a contact with their ground stations to confirm that the satellites are in good health. So
okay, but what will the satellites do after contact has been established with the station?
Well, they will begin a series of tests and maneuvers that will take a few days to turn on all the systems, to check that all the systems are functioning correctly. And yes, basically that's what will happen.
And then what happens? How do they reach their final orbit?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, they will use their own engine, their own propulsion system to accelerate once when they're at the apogee of the orbit in order to transfer to the final geostationary position.
Well, let me remind you all that this second satellite, GSAT-24, was built by the Indian Space Agency, ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, for NSIL, and will provide the Indian subcontinent with high-quality telecommunication and direct broadcast satellite services. Did you have something to add?
Yes, for us, Arianespace, we are proud to say that it is the 25th Indian satellite that we launch.
Well, David, you have been lucky enough to go inside the Jupiter room many a time, I think, and in the CDL-3 many times. How would you describe the ambience, the atmosphere here at this stage of the mission? It must be electric.
Yes, so having released the satellites at this point, there is a feeling of relief, a feeling of mission accomplished. But of course, everyone is eagerly waiting for the last confirmation from the customer that the signal has been acquired, which confirms the definite success of the mission.
So I hope we'll have the opportunity to be there. It's now more than 40 minutes since Ariane 5 took off from the European Space Center in Kourou. Let's take another look at some incredible images of tonight's liftoff. Let's have a look at this replay. It's always an incredible moment, and the launch we've been attending today was...
We witnessed today was incredible.
We witnessed today, yeah. It was incredible. Those are the images we saw. It was not dark night.
No, yes, it was sunset. I was lucky myself to see one of these launches once, a sunset launch with very clear skies, and it was definitely feeling and hearing the launch. You feel the vibrations. I was located 5 kilometers from the launch pad, and it is definitely an amazing view, an amazing sight. And I was able to see, like today, all the flight up to booster separation. So it was really, really amazing. I had tears in my eyes.
Wow.
Is it always special? It is always the same? It's different, one launch from the others?
Unfortunately, I have only seen once this launch from outside. Usually the other launches I have been inside the control room. But yes, it definitely depends on the conditions, the atmospheric conditions and the weather, yes.
Acquisition GSAT par les stations.
So we hear the DDO, and at the same time we're watching all those images we had.
Yes, so we had the confirmation from the DDO that GSAT-24 has been acquired by its ground stations.
Okay.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
This is really, really good news for all the teams working so hard on this campaign.
So, David, you've participated in many launch preparation campaigns. Apart from takeoff, what for you is the best moment of a mission?
Yeah, so during these launch preparation campaigns that last several weeks, after these intense moments of the countdown and the launch, the best moments, of course, are after the release of the passengers once the mission has been accomplished. It's a big moment with all the launcher teams, and after these weeks of intense work that is not always easy, so it's definitely seeing everybody happy is a great satisfaction.
Well, we certainly saw everyone happy tonight.
Yes, and also with the customers, seeing the customers after the launch and seeing how their satisfaction and gratitude, it's definitely a great moment.
Well, let me remind you that later on tonight we will have the pleasure of talking to Arianespace's customers. We'll be linking up with Mr. Radhakrishnan Duraraj, Chairman and Managing Director of NSIL, and also with Mr. Sankaran Muthusamy, Director UR Satellite Center at ISRO.
Yes, Emma, and we are currently waiting for the Measat 3D acquisition that should happen in the next 5 minutes. Then we have an interview with François Gaulier, who is Senior Vice President, Telecommunication and Navigation System at Airbus.
Well, the 2 satellites that were on board the launcher tonight have already been placed into geostationary orbit. But as you know, we are now waiting for the signal acquisition. This will happen in a couple of minutes. In the meantime, I suggest Well, we answer some more questions from our audience. Let's see. I have a question from Alexia.
We should have a question. Yeah, we have a question from
Alexia about the heavy launch vehicle Ariane 5. Now, what does she ask? Who gets to push the liftoff button of Ariane 5? No, it's not
me.
you.
It's me.
It's not
I do.
Yeah, so in fact, nobody does. As I mentioned before, once we get to the end of the countdown, it's Ariane 5 itself, its onboard computer to be precise, who decides to lift off, to ignite the main engine and to ignite the boosters once it has checked that everything is ready and that it will fulfill its mission.
Well, in our spacework report tonight, we interviewed a young female CVI. She's called Justine, 26-year-old, works as a mission analysis engineer. It is isn't it quite unusual to have a woman working in the space industry? What is the gender parity? What is the male to female ratio in this sector?
No, we have, in fact, we have many women working at Arianespace and at the Guiana Space Center in general. Unfortunately, there are less women than men for the time being, as with many other technical and engineering activities. But okay, even if there is still some way to go, the percentage of women is definitely increasing.
So what are the types of jobs that women generally hold, David?
I have seen women really in every position. There are women assembling the launcher, there are women performing the test, doing the engineering analysis, managing the activities, or being senior experts on very difficult technical fields. So really everything is possible.
So,
well, I have a question, because you have questions, and I have a question, because I'm more focusing on environment.
Less on women.
No, I'm focusing on everything, but I like environment. Don't confuse me, please. We've been talking about that subject once before on Road to Space. The area around the launch pad is a wild environment. And that's incredible because we cannot figure out, but you can see wildlife and some CCTV camera security camera catching images. What kind of animals?
Yes, the launch base is right in the middle of an area with plenty of wildlife. So the security cameras often see interesting visitors. Recently, there was a family of jaguars that was seen very close to the launch pad where Ariane 5 took off today. So, in fact, there are many unique wild species inside the Space Center, and it is CNES who does a great job of monitoring all this wildlife and making sure they're secure, as well as the environment to guarantee that everything is safe.
And I have another question about the environment. How is it cleaned, the launch pad, after the ignition? Does it need to be cleaned? Is it watered? How this works?
Yeah, the launch is, of course, there is it's a very harsh environment. There is a lot of hot temperatures, a lot of pressure, and therefore, yes, after the launch, there is a big inspection that is done of all the launch area, making sure that, okay, pieces have not been broken, or if there are things that need to be exchanged. And yes, everything is cleaned and let's say...
And from what I know, the water is recycled, and I mean, it's a really an important point.
Yes, the water that is used in particular to damp the sound during liftoff, it's water that is collected it's rainwater that is collected in a tower right next to the launch pad. And yes, this water is
okay, we should definitely make a report about that part, because it's, I like those little stories behind the big stories. Everybody's focusing on the rocket, but we have many things. Oh, why everybody is clapping?
Yes, we had the confirmation from Measat.
Measat acquisition.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Well, so that's a really good news. We're watching.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Everybody. Well done, David. Well done to their teams. This is going to be a moment when I think we'll be going back to Kourou.
Definitely, because it's we're just letting them having a few moments to cheer up and celebrate, and we will connect to Kourou, where Stéphane Israël should be waiting for us.
Not only him, there'll be loads of other people.
Yeah, a lot of people, but firstly we'll have a communication with Stéphane Israël.
So we can...
He's ready. He's probably shaking hands and we will be
He must be
discussing
very,
with
very
him.
happy.
Yeah, and we see all the teams. Okay, Stéphane, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you very well, yes.
Hello, so it's a good news. Everything went perfectly tonight.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes, it was a perfect launch tonight. Yes, it was a perfect launch tonight, and it's very important for us because it is the 4th time we deliver for Measat. It is the 25th time we deliver for India, ISRO, and for the first time Nesil. There was also an auxiliary payload embarked for Korea on the Measat satellite. So tonight we have done the job, and we are very honored to have delivered.
And so I'm sorry because you are focusing on tonight, but what's next?
So I want first to thank all our customer partners for this launch because it's really a collective success. It's led by Arianespace, but with all the European launcher family, CNES, ESA, Ariane Group for sure, our prime contractor. So thanks to all of our partners, thanks to our customers. So what next? We will have in July the maiden flight of Vega C. It will be a very important event. And we will come back to the Guiana Space Center on September the 6th for a key customer, Eutelsat, the satellite Connect on board of Ariane 5.
And we will be definitely with you in September for this launch. Thank you very much, Stéphane.
Thank you, Stéphane.
And have a nice day over there in Guiana, in French Guiana.
Thank you.
Well, that was great to hear Stéphane Israël's reaction after the completion of the mission. You, like him, David, must be feeling quite proud tonight. It's quite an achievement.
Yes, it's always a great satisfaction when we reach this moment when the satellites have been handed over to the customer in space. So congratulations to everyone, yes.
Well, I think it's now time to meet up with some other very special guests. Mr. Radhakrishnan Duraraj, Chairman and Managing Director from New Space India Limited, and Mr. Sankaran Muthusamy, Director of UR Rayo Satellite Center from ISRO. I think they might be ready for us in a minute. We should be joining up with Gregory in the VIP area of the Jupiter room with our two special guests. Gregory, are you there?
I'm sure Gregory is there.
We saw him earlier.
We saw him earlier, and
he must be busily shaking hands as well.
Yeah, or maybe trying to grab the people.
Exactly.
Themselves shaking hands. So, well, so that's a special moment. Everybody was tensed. Everybody was stressed. Now everybody's enjoying, and we see Gregory.
Good evening, Gregory.
Gregory, good evening.
You're with our two special guests.
We have a little problem,
Gregory. We can't hear you.
Give us a second. We don't hear you, Gregory. So.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we can hear you now. Sorry.
Okay, great. So you can hear me, Baptiste and Emma, and
yes,
I would
perfect.
like to thank you very much. We are here back in Kourou, and I'm here with two representatives of the teams who have designed, manufactured, and soon will be operating now GSAT 24, and coming soon the other teams from the Measat satellites operations. Next to me is Mr. Radhakrishnan, representing NSIL, the operator of GSAT 24. So I think this satellite means actually a lot to your organization. Could you explain us why it is so important, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, first of all, New Space India Limited is extremely excited to see our first demand-driven communication satellite built by Indian Space Research Organization. Built and successfully launched. Would like to also congratulate and thank Arianespace for giving us such a beautiful orbit. This particular satellite is going to meet the direct-to-home telecommunication needs of India. So it's all the more significant for us because in the coming days we are going to have many more operations related to the satellites. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. I think you have many plans for the future. Could you let us know more about the future for NSIL?
Yeah. Now, New Space India Limited, after the space reforms announced by Government of India, has been mandated to do missions on a demand-driven mission. So GSAT-24, the launch, what we saw just now, is one of the many missions that we plan to undertake in the coming years. We have a couple of communication satellites that needs to be launched in the next 1 or 2 years. So we are eagerly looking forward to build our assets in the space and provide all the communication needs of the country.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this very interesting insight. And next to you, we have Mr. Pelancaran, welcome back, representing the Indian Space Agency, ISRO, whose teams have designed and built GSAT-24. So, Mr. Pelancaran, this was actually the 25th launch made by Arianespace for India, I think. So what does it represent to you?
It represents the cooperation between two of the greatest nations in the world, India and France. We have been cooperating not only in the spacecraft building and launching the spacecraft, but in several areas, including science, technology, engineering, defense equipment, procurement. You say it, you have a number of areas where we are supporting each other and helping us to move forward. So this is a very, very exciting 25th satellite, and this happening on the 50th anniversary of our center, the URR Satellite Center, is an added benefit. And this is also the 75th anniversary of Indian independence, which is being celebrated throughout India. This is nothing more can be better than this as a celebration for Indian scientific people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you too, and again, congratulations on this successful launch. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Stay with you, Gregory, in Kourou to hear two other special guests, Dongjung Kim, Director General for Airports and Air Navigation Facilities Policy in Korea, and François Gollier, Senior Vice President Telecommunications and Navigation Systems at Airbus. They are waiting for us. And so we go back to you, Gregory.
Yes, thank you very much, Baptiste. Actually, I'm here now with François Gollier, as you mentioned. François is part of the successful Measat 3D team tonight, and he's a representative from the satellite manufacturer, Airbus Defence and Space. So, François, your company manufactured the satellite Measat 3D, sorry. How long have you been working on this project? Can you explain us?
So it's true, we have been through all the milestones in the beginning, very successfully, one by one. And I really want to be grateful to all the teams, our teams, and as well the customers, to be able to deliver and to be on time tonight for the launch. Being through this COVID period, it has been a real challenge, and having this successful progress of the program until today was a real success. So thanks to all for that.
Thank you very much. And let us know, this was not the first time Airbus Defence and Space was working on a Measat satellite, right?
Absolutely. This is the second one. So we have done Measat 3B. It was in 2014 for the launch. Today it's a new satellite, and we are extremely happy to see this new capacity brought to Malaysia, bringing to connected and unconnected people this additional capacity for safe connectivity in Malaysia. So it's a good
Thank you very much.
Good thing.
And final question, as to be very fair with people who are watching us, who are looking for Mr. Kim to talk about this hosted payload that was on Measat 3D, but you were involved in the project. So can you tell us a bit more about this hosted payload, as we call it, onboarded on Measat 3D for Korea?
It's a very innovative payload that we call CAS, for Korean Augmented Satellite Service, that will bring for KTSat, and by the way, for also we are there today, the Space Agency for Korea, the KARI, and for the MOLIT, some augmented capacity, accuracy for navigations in Korea, and it will help a lot for air traffic management, for instance.
Thank you very much for this explanation, François, and congratulations again on this successful launch. Thank you, and back to you, Paris.
Thank you, Gregory. And I'm sorry, but since you're doing the job well, we stay with you, and you will present us two other guests. The time you can grab them in the Jupiter room, and you have two more people to present us for the interview.
Here they are.
Yeah, here they are.
Just come here, Mr. Yao.
So yes, Gregory, you can start.
Yes,
we're waiting for you.
Yes, here we are back in Kourou with the successful Malaysian team from Measat 3D. So let me please introduce you, and we are very honored to have you with us tonight, sir. Mr. Dato Sri Haji Mohammed bin Metek, the Secretary General, Ministry of Communications and Multimedia of Malaysia. So good evening, sir.
Good evening, thank you very much.
You are here with Mr. Yao, Chief Operating Officer with Measat. Let me just ask you this simple question. How was the launch for you tonight?
Okay, first of all, congratulations to Measat on the successful launch of Measat 3D. With the addition of this cutting-edge satellite, Malaysia will be able to enjoy better connectivity, especially in the remote areas. This will improve coverage, which help the nation achieve our goal to closing the digital connectivity gap between Malaysians in rural areas and also in the suburban area. So once again, I would like to congratulate Measat for the successful launching of Measat 3D today. So congratulations once again to Measat.
Thank you very much again, sir. This was another awesome Ariane 5 launch tonight, and I think we can fairly assess that all our guests appreciated it here. So now we are back to you, Emma and Baptiste, and see you next time in Kourou for another successful launch.
Thank you, Gregory. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Well, thank you, David. Congratulations is in order to everyone at Arianespace, Ariane Group, European Space Agency, and the CNES for making this launch happen. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you to you.
You must be really relieved.
Yes, relieved and happy.
Good.
Okay, and Road to Space will be back for the next launch with more exclusive and exciting contents. We hope you had a good night with us. We had a really good night.
With you.
In the coming days, this is something we always say to conclude. If you look, or if some of your friends look up in the stars, remember, we are building the future over there.